Good morning, ladies, and welcome to today's Morning Dew. What we're going to be talking about today is our continued discussion on the book, Finding a Man Worth Keeping, 10 Dating Secrets That Work by Victoria Rogers. Today, we're going to be talking about her 10th secret. And if you have not listened to the first 9 secrets, I really strongly suggest that you listen to the first 9 first in numerical order before you listen to the last secret that we're going to talk about today. And the last secret is call it love or call it quits. Again, it's call it love or call it quits. In this chapter, she is talking about the fork in the road, pretty much. If it's love, if you guys realize that this is it, both you and your potential spouse, make your wedding plans and so forth. One thing that she mentions is to not pressure the guy into marrying you. Now, if it's starting to take too many, like it's starting to get to years before he marries you, like long years, and it's like, okay, or this is going to happen, and that there's a situation. And she talks about this in the book as well, about how long should it really be before that conversation comes up. And I believe she talks about it in this chapter. You just don't want to talk about it too soon. And you never want to pressure the guy into marrying you. You want it to be his decision. You understand? The other part that she talks about is when to call it quits. There's going to be a time, too, when you're going to have to say, okay, this doesn't seem like it's moving forward. And you have that conversation and you break up. One thing she talks about is what to do during the breakup. And she highly recommends that you have total separation from each other, meaning that, you don't still talk to each other on the phone. And of course, in passing, like if you work at the same place or if you see each other at the store, you can say hi. But we're talking about still calling each other or spending time with each other when you should be away, because you need him to have time to miss you, to realize how valuable you are. And one of the things that she says, I'm going to read what she says to do right after the breakup happens if you still want to be with that man in the future. She says, the day of your breakup, pull out your calendar and mark off the next 12 weeks. Why 12 weeks? As we said before, anyone can play a role for about 6 weeks, then the real person emerges. 6 weeks of being without you may be sufficient time for your ex to discover whether he loves you or not. Double that length, and he surely had enough time to discover his true feelings. If he doesn't come back to you by then, chances are he is gone for good. Watch your calendar and move on. This is one of the best forms of advice I've ever heard in my life. What a lot of us women do is when we get when we break up and get out of a relationship, the first thing we want to do is get into another one when we haven't healed from the previous one yet. So it's more than just, I believe, it's more than just waiting to see if he's going to come back. But you need time to heal, and you need time to, evaluate the relationship and evaluate yourself to see if there are any things that you did to cause the breakup. Were you insecure in a relationship? Were you too pushy? Were you too this? But also look at what he's done negatively, things that you're willing to put up with for the future. So it's a good time to reflect during that time. But again, like she said, a person can play, like they really don't care. But if they had 12 weeks and if they really care about you, you're going to hear back from them within 12 weeks. If you don't, more than likely they really didn't care about you in the first place, and that's when you know it's time to move on. And be sure to be strong enough to not contact him in any way, form, or fashion during those 12 weeks. Otherwise, you got to start all over again. And do not get into another relationship until that 12 weeks is over if you're still interested and getting back with him. All right. So just and that, again, that's time to heal too before you move on, because it's not going to be fair to the next one if you're still holding on to hurt from the former one, because your new man is going to pay the price for some things, that negative things that the former one has done, and that's not fair to him. So you need that time to heal. You need the time for both of you to, figure out, should you have broken up, and all of that. This is really, really good advice. But she says too, if your man comes back, even if it's long after the 12 weeks, you will have grown and maybe even change. More than likely, you will change. If you are available and still in love with him, hooray, say yes, take the leap, send out the invitations. He's your man worth keeping. But if you're no longer available or your feelings have changed, celebrate that too. He was not your man worth keeping. Be glad you found out before it was too late. All right, so again, this is great time to reflect. So if a breakup happens, a lot of times we think it's the end of the world, and it really isn't. It could be the end could be the beginning. It could really give you time to wonder, both of you and the man, time to wonder if you really are for each other. All right? So keep that in mind and go forward with it. Now, I can't say there's situations where it's been more than 12 weeks and then people still have gotten together maybe after a year. That has happened too, but I don't want you to get into the point of waiting so long for somebody to come back that you miss the one that God has for you. You know what I mean? Still be open. I would just keep the door shut for at least 12 weeks. Just use that time to heal and to do you. And then once you've healed and everything, by 12 weeks, you should be okay. If he doesn't come back, move on. Be available for the next one. All right. And always keep your options open. You'll know that gut feeling. Just follow your intuition. So we have completed all 10 of Victoria's Secrets from her book. Again, I highly recommend you to get that book because she goes into much more detail than I have, believe it or not. So it's really a great book. Again, this book is written by a woman of God. So it's a lot of biblical scriptures and principles that she uses in this book. I don't agree 100% with everything in this book, but I agree with at least 95% of what she says in the book. The only part that I don't fully agree with is using dating services, because again, I just feel like you just have to trust God to order your steps, and for you and your future husband to connect with each other. So that's the main thing that I don't agree with. But just about everything else I agree with in her book. So I still highly recommend that you get this book. All right. So you all be blessed, and we will be talking about more things. It will not always be about a book. I just felt in my heart that God wanted me to share these secrets that Victoria put in this book, because a lot of women out there are feeling hopeless due to relationships, and he loves you. He wants to bless you, and a lot of us, he wants to bless us with good relationships, but he wants to teach us how to do it right, and for us to be that type of woman that matches with the type of man that we're praying for. So we got to be that before we can be with that, if that makes any sense. So you all have a wonderful day, a blessed day, that is. And remember to put God first and foremost. And remember to not only look beautiful, but be beautiful. Be blessed.